I'm not even going to try and pre-qualify this for you. Here we go.
Your boss, your brother,
Yeah.
talked about Superman being an immigrant. And now MAGA is already upset that he's called Superman an immigrant. I wanted to get your reaction.
It's very nice that Grover from Sesame Street is working for Variety. How many letters in the alphabet do you know? It's really interesting how people get around in Hollywood, isn't it?
You know, my reaction to that is that it is exactly what the movie is about, I think. That, like,
Oh, great. A Superman movie about immigration and MAGA. Just what we wanted, right? Just what we wanted.
we support our people, you know?
Your people. Nope. If you're supporting people that aren't Americans, and you're an American, you're not supporting your people. We'll get into that.
No, we love our immigrants. Yes,
We love our immigrants. Who's going to clean the toilets, right? Remember that when that daughter of Ozzy Osbourne said that very fun thing? Remember that? That's obviously what he's referring to. People in Hollywood have been up in arms that their gardeners aren't showing up for work.
Superman is an immigrant. And yes, the people.
Superman is not an immigrant. He is not. Siegel and Schuster made it abundantly clear that he is not an immigrant.
That we support in this country are immigrants, and if you don't like that, then you're not American. People who say no to immigrants are against the American way. They're against what the American dream is all about.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Absolutely.
Well, let's just kind of, let's just let the dictionary decide what that is. Let's just go. Okay, here we are. Here's the dictionary. This is good old Oxford. Remember the one that Tolkien wrote? Yeah, that one. Immigrant, a person who comes to live permanently in a foreign country. He's a recent immigrant to the U.S. from Germany. That's the example, okay? It doesn't matter if the subscriber count never changes. What matters is if we let the subscriber count change us. Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You don't just climb up in front of a microphone and start spouting off your opinions because you're a YouTuber. You do it because you're driven. Did Superman immigrate from Krypton? No, I remember him being a refugee from a dying world. What did Tolkien's Oxford Dictionary say about that? Oh, yes, it says here, refugee, a person who has been forced to leave their country in order to escape war, persecution, or natural disaster. Tens of thousands of refugees fled their homes. What's even weirder about this is that Siegel and Schuster did not even frame Superman as a refugee most of the time. It was sort of shorthand for how he came to Earth. That was not the focus of the character, though. He was a survivor. That was what defined Superman when he came to Earth. As an immigrant, he was a survivor of a world that died, the lone survivor, the last son of Krypton. Not, Jim, who filled out his proper paperwork and decided to live the rest of his life in some place called Fiji, where they make that neat Fiji water that tastes like regular water, but you have to pay more for it. And that's where Jim immigrated to, because he felt there would be better opportunities there. Jim did not apply for refugee status to escape war-torn, naturally disastered USA to go live in Fiji, where the expensive water is. No, nor is he a survivor of America moving to Fiji to escape its destruction. America's destruction. So there you go, like right there on its face. Now, this smacks of something very familiar in the ye olde times of DC being up its own butt. They thought it would be a great idea for Superman to rescind his citizenship. That's right. Here he is meeting with Amanda Waller as, I think this is Amanda Waller. I can't tell. Could be some other character, but it looks like how Amanda Waller was being presented at that time, but like skinnier. I don't know. Could be another character. You'll forgive me. So what purpose did your showboating serve? Superman, this character's going on. Your actions have created international incident. The Iranian government is accusing you of acting on the president's behalf. They're calling your interference an act of war. Gee, that sounds familiar. I realize that. And Superman replies with, he says, I realize that. And you're right. Of course, it was foolish of me, which is why I intend to speak before the United Nations tomorrow and inform them that I am renouncing my U.S. citizenship. And of course, I think this is Amanda Waller, replies with, what? And Superman says, truth, justice, and the American way is not enough anymore. The world is too small, too connected, and his eyes are glowing. Yeah. And somehow I feel like this is probably going to color quite a bit of the discussion around Superman interfering with the conflict in the movie, the military conflict. This is going to be a great bit of it. And they want to press this immigrant thing, obviously for the moment, because they think they're going to get away with something. But the reality is DC already tried this and had to immediately backtrack on this. I think almost the very next issue was Superman saying that was a dumb idea and I was just really fired up and I really didn't mean it. And so that's, again, this is the stress that this character is already under, right, in his own history, and it failed him, okay? Acting like this and then oh, I'm going to take my toys and go home. That's not a very mature or wise approach to interfering with international incidences. And again, James Gunn went and stepped in it wonderfully as he decides to, bring up that Indian audiences make trouble for him. He made an offhanded joke here. We're going to scroll down and take a look at this. So he made an offhand joke about this where he's...
When he was saying...
So in this interview right here, this Real Rejects has sat down with James Gunn, and they're discussing a certain scene. But what I want you to pay attention to is this incredibly quick statement he makes about Indians here.
I just thought it was so relatable when he was saying, I don't go online, but clearly he actually gets affected by some of the comments from time to time.
That's right.
So this Superman is saying, I don't go online. He is reacting to this. James Gunn goes on and says, yes, I felt this way. And here he goes on to kind of explain.
I relate. Obviously I relate to that. I do tune out most of social media, but every once in a while there'll be somebody who will say something. It's always the weirdest stuff. It's never what you expect. Some weird thing, and I go, God, that guy, I'm going to, and then I go, I think I might be getting upset about something a 12-year-old in India is saying. You know what I mean? I'm like, let it go.
So he's expressing that the randomness of the internet allows for people who have no earthly kind of reference point to be coming at you so hard and saying such weird things about you. In James Gunn's case, that could be someone as estranged to you as a kid in India, a 12-year-old in India. And so I understand what his complaint is here. And I'm no James Gunn, fan, mega fan, or anything like that. But I understand what he's going for. And believe it or not, he was made to apologize for that. Look at this.
Yeah, well, first of all, I am incredibly grateful for the Indian fans. And I talk to you guys all the time online. And there's so many of you.
All of you Indian 12-year-olds.
Obviously, and so many fans of Superman who love Superman, and he means so much to them. And that isn't lost on me when I'm making this movie about how much he means to the people of India.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Superman for the Indians. It's hilarious to me, okay? Just pause for a minute and think about this. Superman is the American hero, okay? Captain America's Captain America, fine and dandy. Guess whose red underwear on the outside ass was defending us from the communist invasion during the Cold War? Guess who was out there reminding everybody not to smoke cigarettes? Guess who was out there doing all the PSAs in the 80s? Guess who was the guy that was the symbol of American pride? It wasn't Captain America. No, 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 no. He was having a fallout with S.H.I.E.L.D. around that time. He was running around calling himself Nomad and all the other jazz. Nope, Superman was the one that they put on all the advertisements fighting the Cold War for us. That's right. And that's why it's so funny to me that people are like, Superman is very important to the Indians. Like, they have their own superheroes, dude. People in India can love Superman, absolutely. But Superman is an American hero, and what the Indians love about Superman is how he defends America. He defends the whole world, but the majority of the time, he's defending Metropolis, America, the USA, Kansas, not New Delhi. That's nothing against New Delhi. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, that place sucks. Superman has no business helping people there. That's not what I'm saying. It's that Superman is an American hero. That's what he is. People love him because he saves Americans. It's not because he's saving Americans, but because he saves his people. He loves his people. It's a reason why people have such respect for President Trump. And there's people who don't, and they have their reasons for that. But around the world, people have respect for President Trump, mostly, because he has a love for his people, a love for America. This is the same with former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Shinzo Abe loved the Japanese people, wanted to see them succeed in all ways possible. And this is why people around the world adored him. Okay? That's what happened. Sorry, I get talking about James Gunn. I feel like I'm gonna puke. It's just what happens. But so now you understand, like he made like an offhand comment about India. Then he had to come out and be like, whoops, India is very important to how we made this movie. And huh? No. If you're a person from India and you legitimately believe that James Gunn put his hand down and he said, there's not enough interest for India here. We're not referencing India enough in this movie. I have bad news for you. I have very bad news for you. I highly doubt that James Gunn was like, we need to make sure that we pitch harder to Bollywood with this one. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. We don't want Bollywood trying to impress Americans, right? That's kind of silly, isn't it? Shouldn't Bollywood be trying to impress Indians? Because guess what? That's Indian media made for Indian people. What's wrong with that? That's great. There should be more of it. I think there probably is. There's a ton of it. The last time I tuned in, there was that tuk 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 guy. That was the last. I think I totally ruined that, by the way. But that was the last time I paid attention to it. Sure, it's massive now, gigantic. So again, James Gunn, you don't need to worry about India. Superman fans in India will be there to watch Superman saving Americans, saving America, saving the world. It's fine. That's what he's always done. That's why they're fans of him. Crazy, right? Crazy. Okay, we're going to move on. Apparently, there are abysmal reviews coming out from that very big brain move that James Gunn, DC Studios, and Warner Brothers, and Amazon decided to cook up. I'm not sure Jeff Bezos was involved. He was busy getting married to the tune of the GDP of a small Eastern European country. So who knows if he had any decision here. However, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Variety explains that the Superman movie is very empty. It has a big studio superhero fanfare to it, and that really it's two-dimensional. Like most of James Gunn's creations, he wants to give you sort of a whisper of a character and then set them loose onto this crazy adventure where you'll learn things about them in itsy-bitsy little quippy lines. You'll discover things about them through sitcom-style conversation, where you don't know that this is exposition about this character until you play it back in your head and say, oh, that connects to that, and that connects to that, and that connects to that. Again, it's nothing wrong with that style, but when you have a clown car of superheroes, as this is explained in here, that this is, here it is, Comic Book Movie wrote this. It says, it's described Superman as overstuffed in a Saturday morning cartoon, according to Comic Book Movie. Now, you and I hear Saturday morning cartoon and we go, oh, kind of like the old Justice League Unlimited cartoons. Okay, cool. No, No, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the Super Friends, okay? That's what they're referencing. Where like things are happening and then other things are happening and then other things are happening and at the end stuff stops happening and it's a good thing that it stopped. The power of friendship. And it says right here, the film is so awash in over the top CGI insanity that its slam bang mayhem loses its punch. Down here, it goes on to explain that David Cornuswet is kind of Superman, but it's very hard to tell that he's the main character, just like I predicted when this whole thing was announced. So here is what was brought out here by these reviewers. And it says, it comes across as relatively slight, a situation exacerbated by all the over the top, all over the place. I'll read it right. English is my first language, I promise. The all over the place nature of this saga. It still sounds like James Gunn delivers nonstop action as his viewers have to hold on for dear life as it whiplashes about from one of out of this world locale to another out of this world locale. And again, so the humor and romance between Lois and Clark is said to be lacking. Okay. Superman gets tangled up in fanciful nonsense that soon renders the entire affair superficial and silly. So again, Superman gets involved in a conflict and all of that gets washed away. What impact that was supposed to have gets washed away with all the crazy up, down, left, and right, nutty attitudes because Superman is so busy not being the central figure of this movie beyond, oh, that guy, we need to talk about him. Finally, we have the original issue that brought everybody to the table here. So James Gunn said, you're going to see Superman bleed, which is different. It's not really different. We've seen him bleed plenty of times, but getting his ass kicked, yeah, that's pretty new. We did have Brandon Routh Superman being stabbed in the heart with kryptonite, though, and then lift an entire, well, at that point it was like an island. It hadn't become the continent that Lex wanted to turn it into. The continent of cancer, by the way, because if you don't know, green kryptonite causes cancer in humans after prolonged exposure, and Lex wanted to build an entire continent out of that in the middle of the Atlantic. Again, the movie's kind of like a little soft. It's a little hard to kind of grab onto it because it's really, really over romanticizing Superman in this, and then does weird things with Lois. However, Lex's plan is just as batshit insane as it ever has been, okay? It's just as batshit crazy as it ever has been. And it's great to see Superman with a chunk of kryptonite already plunged into his chest and another one growing toward his chest again, lifting that island of kryptonite off of the planet and throwing it off into space. It's pretty good. But he's bleeding there, and he got beat up pretty bad on that place. I think he fell like 15 feet down onto like solid kryptonite rocky stuff. So come on. Come on. So showing him bleed, making him more vulnerable, not a good idea. People don't like seeing Superman beat up. And again, I'm one of those guys, I guess, that how hard is it to make a movie where the good guy is the good guy? The low point in the story does not have to be him having his ass royally kicked and he can't even do math anymore. He's been beaten so hard. He's forgotten algebra. He's taken so many headshots. What is this? It's again, I understand that the high intensity action needs to produce something, that the characters need to feel something, but somehow we manage to have all of this anime out there that doesn't get to this point where the character is an absolute sad sack. Don't do this. You don't need to do that. The whole fight between Superman and I'm going to spoil it for you, Ultraman. I haven't seen it, but I'm just taking a wild guess because he has a U on his chest. But anyway, the whole fight between Superman and Ultraman boils down to absolutely nothing. The whole fight between Superman and the engineer boils down to absolutely nothing. The whole fight between Lex and Superman boils down to absolutely nothing. All of the conflicts in this movie, as we're told, just happen so fast that they become superficial to the whole plot. The movie just ends. So don't beat the hell out of Superman. See, this is the thing that I wanted to really drive home about all of this is this is the Superman that needs to be in movies. You need to have a Superman that's just plainly dressed. He doesn't have special alien armor. He doesn't have any unique kind of design lines. And he's out rescuing kittens from trees. This is how these movies should begin. with Superman at the break of dawn, making sure that cats get home to their owners, taking pancakes to overnight fire department shift workers, making sure that they have their tummies full before they go to bed for the day, so that the night comes, they're good to go. And then delivering coffee to the police as they greet a wonderful new morning over a momentary break in the violence and danger of Metropolis. And this again is the attitude that we should have. Superman should be the aspirational man. Making him vulnerable, making him bleed, making him into something that is tangible to humanity is not what Siegel and Schuster created him for. You must understand at the core, Superman is not supposed to be us. He is not supposed to be human. That's the whole point of why why he portrays Clark as an oafish, clumsy, underspoken guy that won't stand up for himself, because he sees that as the average human. You must understand that the most inconsequential man is Clark Kent by Superman's measure. All right? In order to avoid being implicated as Superman, he must act in this manner because he believes that this is how forgotten men behave. James Gunn doesn't process that. That's not even part of this character whatsoever. Doesn't have time to put that in the movie. Doesn't have time to try and figure out what that means, okay? Sorry, this gets me so angry because it's such a simple character to portray. Superman is not tested through his strength. He's not tested with what interferences he causes. Superman is tested when his morality is tested. You're never going to punch harder than Superman. He punched a hole in reality, okay? Just swung his fist out there in space and shattered reality like a mirror. That happened. That's real. That's a thing. Okay? Now that we're there, you're not going to overpower Superman. So it's pointless to try and give him an enemy that is strong. Okay? It doesn't work. So when you zoom out on what you can do with that character, there is a massive, massive universe of ideas that can be applied to a character that does not have to change his morality. His strength is not his like weapon. However, that morality paired with his invulnerability makes him the aspirational hero that can answer any disaster. Okay? Great or small. If it's a kitten in a tree, he's on it. If it's a meteor screaming toward the center of the earth, ready to just descend upon us like that, sorry, my brain farted there, a Deep Impact movie. You know, that's what Superman does. He punches that thing out of the way. But this is why Lex was such an important adversary to him until it just boiled down to, I must get Superman because he's an Aryan. He's an Aryan, and we hate Aryans around here. They're awful. I don't know why Lex is a South Park caricature of an Asian man, but whatever. You have this dichotomy between them where Lex Luthor is a self-made businessman. He was built from the ground up. Like, yes, he came from money, but he decided to build his own corporation and put his father out of business. This is the story of Lex Luthor, okay? A ruthless, self-made businessman that, yes, he got off the ground with a silver spoon in his mouth, but after that, he used that silver spoon to cut the throat of everyone in his way. All right? That's the difference between them. And that was the important thing, is that Lex knew mortality. Lex knew pain. Lex knew sacrifice. Clark only knew those things through the lens of emotion. Lex did not know those things through emotion. He knew those things through experience, through bodily pain, bodily sacrifice. And this is the difference between the two of them. And it was an important difference to have, but we just got rid of it because it was easier to explain that Lex is just xenophobic. I guess that's what they call it. Aliophobic. He just doesn't want to he's a phobe. He's one of those phobes. He's an he's an ism. He's isming all over the place. And that's because you can't just have two people who pursue very righteous ideals that they believe to the core of their being and finding out that they're in opposition to each other at the end run of those choices. You can't have that. That's not interesting enough to modern audiences, apparently. So having Lex and Superman arguing the merit of humanity when they see what Superman is by comparison, is a huge backdrop to having a fight scene. So the two of them slugging it out. Lex has his Lexo suit, so he's able to go toe to toe with Superman for a little while until he runs out of power or he rips out the kryptonite battery, one or the other. Maybe Metallo shows up, so it's a 2-on-1 fight. And Lex's argument is, look, I had to turn Metallo into a monster in order to be able to compete with you. You represent everything humanity can never be, and by that measure are a danger to us. You will kill human innovation, the rise to the challenge, because there will be a Superman to save us. And that's a great argument to make, that humanity will be undone by something that answers all of our problems, kind of like AI. But no, it's all about immigration. That's right. You're a bigot if you don't like that Superman just applied for a green card one day. That's an immigrant. Not a refugee, apparently. Not a savior. Not a survivor. An immigrant. Just filled out some paperwork. Old Jor-El filling out those immigration papers. You know, nice fellow to roll them up there, include them in the mystical blanket and the hologram crystals that tell him everything. Those immigration papers are vital, even though I don't think there was a civilization on Earth when Jor-El sent Clark to Earth from Krypton. Anyway, you'll have to let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always, guys, good luck out there.